It is 1:30, Universal Time. I'm Jim Tedder in Washington. Israeli military forces say they are preparing to launch a new offensive in the northern Gaza area. The offensive is the second part of a military operation aimed at freeing a kidnapped soldier. In the past day, Israeli troops have moved into southern Gaza. Air attacks on bridges and electricity stations have left hundreds of thousands of people in Gaza without power. The army said it targeted a weapons factory in the southern town of Khan Yunis late Wednesday. In related news, Palestinian officials say Israeli troops have arrested several members of the Hamas-led Palestinian government, including Deputy Prime Minister Nasser Sha'er. The Bush administration says Israel has a right to defend itself. However, a White House spokesman has urged Israel to ensure that no civilians are injured and that no property or government buildings are unnecessarily destroyed. The European Union has urged both Israel and the Palestinians to restart talks to end the crisis. United Nations Secretary General Kofi Annan has said it is understandable that the Israelis would want to go after those responsible for the kidnapping of their soldier. However, Mr. Annan says it must be done in a way that does not cause harm to civilians. Presidential candidates in Mexico are making their last efforts for votes before the national election Sunday. Recent studies of public opinion show it will be a close race between conservative candidate Felipe Calderón and former Mexico City Mayor Andrés Manuel López Obrador. Mr. Calderón, a member of the National Action Party, is expected to hold his final rally in the city of Guadalajara. He has said he would continue the economic policies of current President Vicente Fox if elected. Mr. López Obrador, who represents the Democratic Revolution Party, will speak to supporters in Mexico City. In Peru, outgoing lawmakers have approved a free trade agreement with the United States. Wednesday's vote followed hours of debate and a short protest by newly elected lawmakers who begin their terms later this year. Critics of the trade agreement say competition from United States companies will damage business for Peruvians. In Guatemala, Nobel Peace Prize winner Rigoberta Menchú says she fears for the safety of several people giving evidence in a trial against former military officers. She has called on the country's retired military organization to end what she says are threats against people being questioned in the trial. The people are giving evidence against former military officers accused of mass murder and torture during Guatemala's civil war that ended in 1996. 200,000 civilians are believed to have died in the war. Rescue efforts continue in Brazil after a multi-level building fell on several nearby houses. At least 7 people were killed. 7 others were injured. Officials say the empty building fell in the northeastern city of Recife late Tuesday. On Wednesday, rescue workers were still searching for survivors. You are listening to the news in VOA Special English. American Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice is in Moscow for a meeting of foreign ministers from the Group of 8 industrialized nations. Ms. Rice told the cable news network that she is looking for Group of 8 ministers to make a firm statement of support for the new Iraqi government. Ms. Rice also said ministers will discuss how they will urge the Hamas-led Palestinian government to accept a peace settlement based on a two-state solution. A top United States military commander says Taliban forces fighting in Afghanistan are growing stronger. Lieutenant General Carl Eikenberry told American lawmakers Wednesday that the Taliban has reorganized itself and is demonstrating better military command than before. In Niger, President Mamadou Tanja has joined other Muslims in prayers for rains needed to prevent food shortages in the country. Mr. Tanja and hundreds of other Muslims gathered Wednesday at a mosque in the capital. Niger's National Islamic Council organized the prayer service. In May, United Nations Children's Fund released a report saying at least 15% of the young children in Niger are in need of food. In 2004, a combination of poor rains and insects ruined crops, causing food shortages the following year. Officials in the American state of Pennsylvania have ordered up to 200,000 people to leave the area after heavy rains threatened to flood a nearby river. The announcement was made Wednesday for people along parts of the Susquehanna River. It follows several days of heavy rains in much of the eastern United States. In the capital, Washington, D.C., several government buildings remain closed because of water damage. In the nearby state of Maryland, 3 people were killed after being swept away by fast-moving waters. 2 others have been reported missing. Final preparations have begun for the launch of the Space Shuttle Discovery on a mission to the International Space Station. 2 top United States space officials have asked that the launch be delayed. A chief engineer and a top safety official said they fear that the space shuttle might be damaged when the flight begins on Saturday. They also said they did not think the damage would cause a threat to the crew. The same type of damage caused the destruction of the Space Shuttle Columbia in 2003. It was destroyed by fire when it re-entered Earth's environment. All 7 members of the crew were killed. The Discovery is expected to be launched Saturday from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. And now, briefly, here again is the major news of the hour. Israeli military forces say they are preparing to launch a new offensive in the northern Gaza area. Presidential candidates in Mexico are making their last efforts for votes before the national election Sunday. And in Peru, outgoing lawmakers have approved a free trade agreement with the United States. And that's the news in VOA Special English. From Washington, this is Jim Tedder reporting.